Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome to our Wednesday edition of Alive. Actually, I don't know what day it is. So what I wanted to focus on was something that was very recent. The teaching, how to navigate through challenging times of uncertainty and loss. There's a 5-step process that we use, that we've developed over the years, that I've leaned on heavily over the last 2 months. Because here we are in a situation that none of us chose to be in, that we have to deal with, and that we're being affected by every single day, basically with complete uncertainty of what the future holds and the potential of loss. And so how John and I have processed this and how we navigate through it is through a 5-step process. And by the way, this process is the design of what yoga is like. The purpose of it. Like if you go back, right? We did an immersion a few weeks back called the Untold Secrets of Yoga. And if you were a part of it, we didn't go into this specifically, like what I'm going to teach, this 5-step process, but we did allude to it. And so if you watched that immersion, if you were a part of the immersion, will you do me a favor and go and comment #IWasThere. For that immersion, because we were thinking about doing it again. And so if you were part of that immersion and you were like, that was awesome, and you want us to do it again, hashtag below, comment I was there, hashtag I was there. Because this is going to be, like, this information is so important for us. It's literally like the key to unlocking our ability to stay in a state of power through these times of uncertainty and loss. And so I'm going to give like the whole 5-step process throughout this training, and we're going to get right to it. So if you did watch that immersion, though, hashtag comment I was there, because I want to see if you were there and if it was cool, if you liked it, all that stuff, because it's nice to know. By the way, one of the reasons I wanted to say that is because we're thinking about doing it again. So the first step in this 5-step process is remember who you are. This is what yoga is designed to do. It is not designed to just give us this flexible body and up dogs and down dogs, right? That came thousands of years later after yoga was initially developed. And so remembering who you are, I wrote a diagram out which is going to help articulate exactly what that actually means, because it is super easy in the yoga world to stay on this conceptual, like, remember who you are and the truth of who you are, and like feel into the now and let the unfolding of life happen as it should. And you're like, what does that mean? How is that practical in my life? I can't stand that shit. And so what I want to do today is like take this high-minded, remember who you are, like who you really are, and try to make it applicable and practical and put your feet on it so that you can actually make it a reality in your life and actually deal with the uncertainty and the loss that's prevalent in our lives all day, every day, and see if this helps. And so here's this idea. So we have 1 ring, 2 rings, 3 rings, and a dot in the center. So the outer ring is the representation of our sense perceptions. What are our sense perceptions? It's everything outside of ourselves that we perceive through our senses. Meaning, I have these lights in front of me that my eyes are perceiving, right? I can hear the hum of the heating system, the air ventilation system in our studios, and so I'm perceiving that. I can see John over there. I can taste the coffee that's lingering in my mouth from the last sip I took before we went live. Meaning how we take in our world, things outside of ourselves are our sense perceptions. That's how we see. Now, remember, this is all in the frame of us not remembering who we are. So what we're trying to do is disentangle who we believe we are from who we actually are. Cool? So sense perceptions is on the outer one. Now, if you're following me on that sense perception ones, give me a like or give me a love, because I want to make sure that you're following this. It's really important that you don't get lost along the way, so that when we land at who we really are, you're very clear about, oh my God, that's actually, I can see that conceptually, and then the time is the practice. That's what we really need to be doing, is to have the experience of it. I'll talk about that in just a minute. Okay, so here are sense perceptions, things outside of ourselves that we perceive through our senses. Then we have these thoughts. This is this next inner ring, right? Our thoughts. This is when it gets tricky, though, because all of a sudden, Your thoughts are inside of you in this body, in this mind, in this brain. And so you very easily misperceive who you are as your thoughts. I'm going to back up to how that's not actually accurate in just a second, but let me go into this inner circle of feelings, right? Even closer. Like, obviously, well, it's all inside you. I feel something inside me. Yeah, you do. But this feeling, these fleeting feelings, and then these hardwired feelings over time become these emotional states that we experience. They're this inner circle. Now, who you are, who I am, who we all are, is this right here. What we call the witnessing presence. In other schools of yoga, they call it pure awareness. Other even spiritual traditions have it as the still, the Quakers call it the still small voice within, right? What a beautiful way of describing that. But this is who we are, this witnessing presence. And this is how, if you're wait a second, I have thoughts, and this is where people get most messed up, is but I have thoughts, I know I'm thinking, and that's who I am. And so we identify our sense of self with each thought that we have and with all these feelings that we have going on. And so when we have uncertainty and we're anxious, we feel ourselves to be anxiety, to be anxious, to be angry. And then this becomes this hardened state of, I am an anxious person. I am an angry person. I am an impatient person. I am a person who can't stop thinking. You've said this, right? Let me know if you've had this experience of I have perceived myself as a thought, meaning I have a thought that is it stirs me up, I'm anxious, and all of a sudden I am now an anxious person. And what's happening is we're misidentifying this, as all of these things that we experience but are not who we are. So like or love if you're still following, or actually better yet, comment #following if you're still with me on this diagram. So important because, and this is how I'll debunk everything that you think you are as far as thoughts and everything that you think you are as far as feelings. It's very easy to debunk this, meaning we think we are the things that we perceive. You know that's not true. As you look at somebody, that's not you. You are not them, right? Because they are outside of you. And so you have this very clear perception. Here I am, there they are, I am not them. But what we get mixed up with, how we do identify with those sense perceptions, so call it your job, right? Call it your job here. And all of a sudden, you've invested all of this time and energy, a lifetime of work, with this one field of endeavor, this one job, and then the job ends. You get fired. A pandemic happens, and you get furloughed. We are literally right now, as of yesterday, this is why I want to teach this today, because yesterday I had this strong fear and anxiety, and I started getting sad towards the end of the day because there's a very real possibility that Hot House Yoga does not open back up. It is real. I'm not saying that's what we're pushing for. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm saying it is a reality. And what I had to deal with is how much time and energy I have invested. My brother has invested in this business, meaning I have an identity. My persona, right? My personality, who I believe I am, is invested in this idea of me being a Hot House Yoga studio owner and all of what that means. And now here I am in this uncertain time with this potential of loss that's real because we can't open our doors right now. And then it calls into question, I'm suffering. My sense of self is suffering because this could potentially be taken away from me. This is what I mean. We get lost in this. We believe we are this and we're not this. And so there's a process by which when you feel that. So it's cool to feel that way. I was cool with feeling that way. And I did the next 4 steps, which I'm going to get to in just a second. But let's go to thoughts. There are moments in your life where you've had no thought. I don't care. You may think, I'm just the type of person that can't stop thinking. I'm a chatty Cathy, whatever. No, it's not true. There's moments in your life where you've had no thought and you didn't cease to exist. Your existence, who you are, is not based on thinking. Thinking is a function, right? It is a function of the mind, of the brain, of which you get to witness. Now, it feels like you because you're the one playing the role of the thinker. But it's not you because you've had moments where you've been aware of a thought. If you've ever tried meditating, you know this to be true. And let me know in the comments in just a second. You know this to be true. You've been meditating, you've been breathing, and you're just breathing, and all of a sudden, boom, you're lost in thought. But you didn't know you were lost in thought yet. Your mind just took over. And all of a sudden, you're having this imaginary idea about what's going on. And then there was a moment, a split second, where you're like, oh, wait, I'm thinking. Even how you say the language, I am thinking. I am aware that I am thinking, meaning there is you, the awareness, and there is the person, there is this experience of thinking that's separate. It's not you. And there's a nanosecond. It's so subtle. That's why it's so slippery. That's why it's so hard to grasp, is that you think it's you, but it's not, because you can be aware of the thought and then come back to your breath. You get to choose what you focus on, right? If that is still clear, maybe clear as mud, comment below, #clear. I'm like, on board, #clear, because I want to make sure we're still following this. Because the same thing holds true for feelings. Moment by moment, depending on what you're focusing on, you can feel awesome. And then the very next moment, you can have a different thought and feel horrible. So which is it? Are you awesome or are you horrible? You're neither. You're the one witnessing the experience of what it feels like to be wonderful or what it feels like to be horrible. You see this is so important, because when your witnessing presence focuses on all these things for a long enough period of time, and you've invested all this time and energy, meaning your identity in these things, you misperceive yourself as those things. And guess what the nature of the world is? It's impermanent. It's loss. It's change. And so when I identify with all of these patterns of thinking and all of these patterns of feeling and all of these sense perceptions, my job, my identity, my wife, I'm a husband, I'm a father, I'm a business owner, I'm a yogi, I'm a surfer, I'm a Brazilian jiu-jitsu martial artist, I'm a black belt. When any of that gets taken away, which all of it has almost been taken away over these last 2 months, we suffer. And it's okay, because we have to, that gives us this juxtaposition. So if you're clear with this, if you're like, you know what, I'm on board with this idea of being a witnessing presence, like or love, because I want to make sure that we're there, because it's the next step. If you're not on board with this, you might as well just start scrolling again, because nothing else will make sense. Okay, so here we go. Step 2. That was just the first step. It's going to go much faster now. Number 2. When you hear all of that spiritual mumbo jumbo that I just talked about, of you're the witnessing presence, and you're not your feelings, and you're not your thoughts, you're not all of these sense perceptions. When you hear that, what ends up happening for most people, because we've taught this in our teacher trainings for years and years and years, and we've experienced it in our own lives, the next thing that comes up is you're like, then I shouldn't feel. Then I shouldn't feel what I feel. I shouldn't feel lost, because that's not who I am. I shouldn't identify with thinking, because that's not who I am. And then all of a sudden, because you're human, you're going to keep thinking, and you're going to be lost in thought, and then you see it, and then you get it's this, in Buddhism they call it the second dart. Then you start judging yourself for it, or you have this feeling of loss, and you feel like you shouldn't feel that way. All of a sudden, you fight and resist the natural experience of feeling life when it comes and goes. And what we're saying is no. Yes, that's not you, but don't fight it. Number 2 is, so recognize who you are, and then feel what you feel. Feel what you feel. Just let yourself feel it. Yesterday, we watched the governor talk, and he didn't talk about phase 2. He didn't talk about when studios and yoga studios and all that stuff are going to be open. He just talked about wearing a bunch of masks. I've got my own opinions about it, but anyway, I was deflated because I recognized where he is in his mind and making these decisions, and where we are with our desire to open back up, there's an ocean between it. And I felt frustrated, I felt angry, I was pissed off, I was sad. I literally went through all of these emotions, and I had to just sit there and be with it and not fight it, because that was how I was feeling. To fight it is to go in the opposite direction, as if you shouldn't be feeling something. It's not spirituality. That's not yoga. Most people think yoga is to be catatonic. I'd experience nothing. I'm walking around. Joy, oh, I'm indifferent. Loss, I'm indifferent, because I am one with all things. Bullshit. No, feel what you feel. So once you feel what you feel, the next step is to remember that you're not those feelings. So let yourself feel, but and however long that is, I don't know how long you're going to process it. Literally, that's like waves. I had waves yesterday, and I went through this process, and I felt okay. I felt empowered, because this is where we're going to get to. And then another wave of it came, and I was like, oh my God, literally 15 plus years could be just stripped out from underneath us. And then where would I be? What's going to happen to all of these, my people I love, and my family, and my brothers, and all the people who love Hot House? Like, what's going to happen with that? And I'm being real. Like, this is what I use when I deal with the stress of uncertainty and loss. And then I had to remember, that's not me. Those aren't my feelings. That's just an experience I'm having from this potential loss that isn't even real yet. It's not even real yet. It's just a potential. And I'm going to do everything I can to not make that a reality, just so we're clear. This is the next step. So you got to remember who you are, feel what you feel, remember that you're not those feelings, get back to that witnessing presence, which is why meditation, which is why the practice of asana is so important. And then number 4, this is so important. This is what really this is what flipped the switch for me. Ask yourself an empowering question. Ask yourself an empowering question, because what you'll find when you're lost in the feelings of it, when you're lost in the ideas of what it may mean or what it may not mean, is you're literally leaking your power to make decisions in your life because you feel like a victim to this situation that you have zero control over, right? And so when you're here and you ask that empowering question, because questions invite revelations. And if you ask yourself shitty questions, you're going to get shitty answers, and you're going to end up feeling powerless. If you're with me, comment #empower. Empower. Because when you ask yourself better questions, you'll get better answers. Here's the question I asked myself yesterday. I went through this, I was like, all right, I feel it, I'm angry, I talked to John, we vented with each other a little bit, and then we recognized, all right, that's not us, that's not who we are. And then I asked, I feel powerless. I feel powerless. And the question was, I asked myself, how can I regain my power? How can I regain my power? And then it was, what can I control in my environment right now? And so I made a list of all the things that empowered me, all the things I am in control of. And then, number 5, take action. So for me, it was the question, what I took action on was actually made a list. Making a list for me is super, super empowering. If you've ever done this, if you ever felt cluttered and felt like you had a million to-dos on your list and there was not enough time to get any of it done, right? Like or love, if you've been there, if you have been cluttered and anxious and oh my God, life is literally falling in on me. I have no idea what to do first and I have a million things to do. And then you just made a list. All you did was write it out. You didn't even do anything else but make a list, and all of a sudden you're like, whew, okay. I see it. There's something so powerful about taking it out of here and putting it on paper and then seeing it, because all of a sudden you're like, oh, that's okay, I can do that. I can do that. Ask yourself an empowering question and then take action. I don't know what that action is going to be. It depends on the question you ask yourself. But that action is so important because it then moves you away from wallowing in your feelings and then getting stuck in this powerless victimhood state. You then take action based on the question you're asking yourself. This is exactly what I did yesterday to come back into my power and to take action on the things I am in control of. And all of a sudden, I'm powered up again. I feel good. Yes, there's nothing changed. There's still the potential of loss. We may not be able to open, and maybe we do, but I don't know what the nature of that, because we have to limit people, and I don't know how long it's going to last, and social distancing, I got to make a list. Okay, what am I in control of? What am I in power of? And what can I do now to make myself feel better? This is what you do. Let me recap real quick. And if that was valuable, comment #valuable. Or if there's an insight you had, please write the insight. Or if you have questions, because John's behind the scenes and he's looking at it. He's probably commenting and sharing and doing all that stuff too. Here's the 5-step process. I want to recap it real quick. First, remember who you are. Who are you? You are the witnessing presence that bears witness to all the senses, all of your thoughts, all of your feelings, and here you are in the middle, at peace. I'm just witnessing, watching, boom. But then life happens, right? Here we go, life happens. Don't push the feelings away, feel what you feel. That's number 2. Once you feel what you feel, I don't know how long it's going to be. For me, it was good, solid half hour. I was just oh my God, what the hell? Oh my God, what the hell? Emotion, tears, it was crushing. Then, oh yeah, that's not me. That's not me. In fact, in that state, I'm not in power anymore. So that's not me. Let me get back. and meditate and breathe deeply, whatever your technique is. We meditate, that's how we get back into state. And then what is the question? What is the empowering question that will bring you into a state where you know you can now take action based on that question? And again, it's not like this profound thing. For me, it was just make a list of all the things I'm in control of. Make a list of all the things I can do now to prevent the idea of what could potentially happen, of the potential of losing Hot House. And so I took action. And now here I am. I was like, you know what would be really valuable is to teach people this process that we use all the time. Because right now we're in the middle of this pandemic, and I imagine you're probably experiencing loss and uncertainty to a degree that you may have never experienced it before. Some of you may be completely anxious every single day and uncertain about your job and uncertain about where money's coming from to pay bills and feed your family, and you're not certain about your husband or your wife's future, and there's this impending question mark. And if that's it, and that's the reality you're living in every single day, what I will tell you is that your body is listening to that anxiety, your body is listening to that stress, and it's hurting it. It's hurting your immune system, and that's the very thing that we need to be cultivating and building right now, is to keep a strong, positive mindset, to stay in a state of power, and to keep doing the things every day that allow us to live this stress-free, youthful, self-love and self-care life, because that's what's going to carry us through, regardless of how our lives look, all the particulars. We need to make sure we're taking care of ourselves. And this is the process to be able to navigate through those challenges, through uncertainty and through loss, and not lose our power and not become a victim of circumstance, but to stay in power and make choices that will help us and help our families. And so if this was helpful for you, I appreciate you watching. Thank you so much. If you have any questions, please comment below. I'll definitely go back in and answer any that you have. If this was valuable, please comment #value below, because it helps us know that, man, did this hit the mark or was that off? Like, you know what, honestly, nothing, I'm not actually dealing with that at all. And what I'm really dealing with is this. But anyway, it helps us know so we navigate what we're putting out, what we're teaching. Anyway, thanks so much, everybody. Peace.